Hey everybody, welcome back and thank you for tuning in. Today's clip, I want to bring you a quick mouse breeding overview video. I have been requested to do this yet again with my new method, so I'm going to give you guys a quick update on my mouse breeding techniques and little tips and tricks that I personally like to use to keep my collection well fed and quality fed at that. So let's jump right into this really quick. I'm not going to make this a big old editing production. It's just a quick video so you guys can get the basics. I had some subscribers ask me for this, so I'll go ahead and give you some details on this and do it quick but in depth. So here we go. First off, what you're going to need for my method, there's three specific methods that people like to use. You have your tank method, you have your rack method, and you have your drawer method. I personally prefer the drawer method, as you can see here. It gives you the compactness and the portability of a rack system, but of course it's much lighter, and it gives actually more space than per se the rack systems. Also with the tanks, it's easier to clean, it's also lighter, movable, and it saves space as well since your cages are virtually stacked one on top of the other, and they also function to solidify the enclosures for each other. So with that, guys, this is the drawer method, and what you see here is the Sterilite drawer system. It is a 3-drawer cart. You only see 2 here because I have a small collection at the moment, so I don't need a lot of breeders to fulfill their feeding requests. What I have here, though, I took one of the drawers off just to save myself space, and because I have this out actually near my front door, so I keep it hidden away behind my entertainment center, and it's just a lot easier aesthetically for my own needs in my home. But just so you guys can see, it is 2 drawers. This is the medium-sized, it's the large sized wide variety drawer system, and it's basically about the same length as a 10-gallon tank, pretty much got the same dimensions rectangular wise, and you don't have as much height, of course. But the great thing about this is you only need one of these. It costs you relatively cheap, about 17 to 20 bucks, depending on what department store you buy them from. You can even find them at swap meets, thrift stores for half that. So they're really, really good. Just make sure that whatever you choose to get, you sterilize it really well and make it suitable for whatever animals you're going to keep in it. These are also pretty good for leopard geckos, but I'm going to stick to the topic. So you have the drawer system here, and what you're also going to need is a soldering iron. You should be able to get one of these at any dollar store or any hardware store if you want something more quality. If you want something that's going to basically last you for the project, you can go to a dollar store and get a little cheap soldering iron. For any of my younger subscribers out there, though, be sure that you have an adult or a parent present, or an older sibling, maybe preferably 18 and up, who knows how to handle those things, because it can be quite dangerous and they can burn you very severely if you don't know what you're doing, or if you make one small careless mistake. So with that, you're going to use your soldering iron, and you're going to make ventilation holes inside of your drawers. As you see here, I went along all the way on the top because mice, just like any other rodent, really love to chew, and you don't want them to get chew points. You don't want them to have points of exit or escape routes that could possibly be opened up later. So what I do is keep the holes drilled really high, although they can get up there and chew if they want to. If you keep your mice clean and you give them everything that they need sufficiently, they really won't be stressing themselves out seeking a way to escape their enclosures. So second, what I have here is the water bottles. These things you can get in any department store in the pets department relatively cheap for a couple bucks, and this should be enough to give your mice water. A small little harem of 3 to 5 maybe water for about a week. So these things, right now you're running at about $24 in, or with total what I have here, about $26 on your bill. The next thing I had was some hardwire mesh cloth that I actually had left over from some other projects. Of course, if you were to go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or any of those other places and buy a roll of this stuff, it's the 1/4 inch mesh. And what I did is you buy a roll. It comes in a pretty large roll, and I made a hopper. So for those of you who don't know what hoppers are, basically it's a little rectangular thing just like this. Most of them do have a lid. Mine don't. But what you do is you make a little rectangular cylinder here, and you put your food in there. So I personally use holistic dog food. to feed my rodents. It's been working great for me. You want to use holistic. You don't want to use your regular throwaway brands like Purina and all that. Just a lot of preservatives, a lot of junk and gunk in there that obviously you don't want to feed your dogs, so you don't want to feed your mice or rodents to inadvertently feed that to your reptiles. So with that in mind, guys, stick to holistic. I've been doing dog food for over a year now. This is the second generation of my colony, who has subsequently had tons of litters for me and has been supporting my reptile collection for over a year and a half now. Dog food, holistic dog food, has been the thing, and it's cheaper than your rodent blocks that you get out there, those laboratory grade things, and I think it's better if you look at the protein content and everything side by side. I mean, personally, it works out better for me, but each to his own. There's many negative views on that. Personally, though, it works just great for me. My guys are great, and you also want to stay away from those popular brands because you want to stay away from any dog foods that have red coloration. Something in the red coloring is toxic to the male mice, so be very careful with that, guys. When you're choosing rodent foods, it's not too good for male mice at all, anything with red coloring in it, and I don't believe it does too well for the rats either. The females won't really die off of it, but the males will. Now, if you look in here a little closer, you guys will see that I have a wheel in there for their exercise needs. There's 3 girls in here in a birthing bin, and the great thing about this is they're all sisters. My colonies have been raised together, and so they all surrogate mom, they all help each other out. They're colonized, therefore that means they all have their little pecking order, they all have a structure, and they all help each other out. If you have females that are not conditioned to each other, you know, they will probably kill each other's babies, so that's when you have to separate out. And if you guys look down here at the smaller drawer, this is Daddy's bin. So he is down here with the grow out girls. There's only females down here with him, and you see those little ones? Those are, I couldn't tell you who's the mother because they all keep their babies together and then I feed from there. But this is what's left over, the little grow out girls, to continue the next colony. And as you see, Dad is there with them, perfectly okay and perfectly tame, nothing wrong. So you have a wheel there, you have their hopper here, you have their shavings, and you have the water. So now what you see in here for bedding is wood shavings. What I like to use is kiln dried pine. So I know you guys, there's still a lot of controversy circulating around pine, and you know, whether it's good or whether it's not. Oh cool, I got some visitors in the garden. My little bird feeder's working. So anyways, you don't want to, I lost my train of thought with that one. But you don't want to use the pine. You don't want to use any pine that is not kiln dried, because with kiln dried pine, it's baked in a certain way so that it releases the aromatic oils that cause a lot of the respiratory infections in rodents. So if you guys know about pine and all that, make sure it's kiln dried. Even then, sometimes if it's just too aromatic, I would suggest staying away from it. It's better to be safe than sorry. But I get the kiln dried pine either from local department stores just because it's cheaper, and it's been working for me for a couple of years now. I haven't lost anybody to respiratory infections. I haven't lost any of my rodents, actually. They're incredibly healthy. They're only lost, of course, in the obvious ways, which is feeding. And but for the most part, they're taken care of very well. As you see, they have plenty of space to run around in here. They can make a nesting area. They can have their, you know, their poop and their pee area, which, contrary to popular belief, mice actually are pretty good at going in a specified corner for the restroom. But as far as the supplies go, you have that, your holistic dog food, and the other thing I have here is baking soda. If you see the baking soda here, what I do when I clean this, and I do clean this weekly, I spot clean every 2 to 3 days, so which means I'll go in their potty corner and I'll take the stuff out, but I use this every week on their weekly cleaning when I freshly change out all the shavings, and I just put a layer of it sprinkled all out. I, of course, concentrate a little bit extra sprinkle in the potty corners that they like to use, because mice will generally go to the same areas every single time. So with that in mind, it helps to reduce the odor greatly, and it helps to keep the cleanup down to that once a week type of deal. So yeah, remember your baking soda, your shavings, Sterilite drawer, water bottles, a couple wheels, and some hardwire mesh. With that, your whole project, including mice, should probably cost you $40 or less, and you'll be off to a great start. This whole setup, to buy a big bale of shavings, a big gigantic bag of holistic dog food, supporting about 12 to 15 reptiles, and keeping them well fed at that, various levels as well, pinky all the way up to full-size mouse. This runs me about $12 to $15 a year after the initial investment. This is a year, folks. $12 to $15 a year to upkeep. That means buying the shavings, the food, and the baking soda, little baggies and stuff. I also, well, I don't buy it, but if you're wondering what this thing is, this is just oil to grease the wheels. It's all virgin olive oil, so it lubricates the wheels so you don't get a nasty, ugly squeak when they're running around in there, and it doesn't poison them, so that's a great thing about it. With that, guys, like about a $45 initial investment, and after that, $12, $15 a year to feed a collection, and it works wonderfully. My harem here consists of actually 5 females to 1 male. So the 1 male has 5 females, and then we get a couple grow outs here and there just to feed to the larger snakes, but everything right now in my collection is feeding on relatively small items, so most of these guys get fed off before it's overcrowded. So now you see that, my method for this. Now keep in mind, folks, once you have all this stuff together, you throw your mice in, selecting your mice. You want to make sure that you select a male from one store and select your female stocks from a different store or location. If you can possibly manage it, maybe go to a different city altogether. And I don't mean go to one PetSmart, here, and then drive 15-30 minutes away to another PetSmart, because they're probably being supplied by the same place. So your best bet to start off your project for fresh genetics, go to one store, maybe a mom and pop, and then go to PetSmart and pick up. But I would suggest if you're going to go to a large chain, try your best to only pick up a male and get the majority of your colony, which will be comprised mostly of females, from a local mom and pop, just because they generally they take better care of their stuff there. And they're not coming from horrible, nasty breeding farms. Some of them do, but most of them don't, and a lot of them get recycled in from the community, so you get a lot of good stock in local mom and pops. It might cost a little more, but it's always worth it in my opinion. Not only that, but you're supporting local herpers just like you and me, so why not, guys? Shop local. But with that, you want to go ahead and try your best to get your male from one place, females from another. That way you have fresh genetics. And you start off, what you're going to want to do is start off with relatively young mice. So I'm going to open this here really quick. Most stores, let me see if I can get this little girl out. I don't play with them too much, just so I don't get super attached. And yes, I am picking her up by the tail, but so be it. You see this little girl here, they're all relatively tame, even though I don't play with them much. I do my best to interact with these guys a lot, so you will see tameness in my feeder stock. You won't see them biting or trying to run like crazy. But this is her. So generally you can find mice like this that are a little bit bigger. Now this is she, and you see her dad there. He's about double, maybe even triple the size, or 2.5 times her size. But most pet stores, especially mom and pop, you can find little ones like these. And you want to start off with relatively young mice like this. Now this is about to hit breeder age. She'll be about ready to start her first litter. And I know it seems rather small, but you want to start off that way just so that they can become acclimated to each other. They're still like adolescents, so it'll still feel like they're growing up with each other. And with that, you get a nice, strong colony formed, you get bonds formed, and you get a social structure. With the mice, they will have their little hierarchy and their pecking order, and as they have babies and introduce more, and you expand the colony that way by selectively breeding and keeping back certain items, and of course adding fresh youngins to the mix, which I usually only like to cycle out males, keep the females more in the same genetics. That way it's just a lot easier bringing in fresh genes. You don't have to resupply a whole bunch of stock, and most of the animals are already used to each other. So when you got that in order and you have your stock and everything set up, it's going to take you maybe 3 to 4 months before they actually pop a litter, guys. So this doesn't happen instantaneously.
I know you guys see a lot of breeders that they use rats and mice because they're very prolific, but you have to give them a chance to get established. If you don't do that, they are definitely not going to start breeding for you right away. Sometimes it can even take up to 6 months for them to become fully comfortable, fully acclimated to each other, and everybody has their lines and boundaries drawn. Once you have that, you will begin a productive colony, and all the females will start giving you babies. So be patient once you've started. It will take time, but just like everyone tells you, once they actually start breeding, it virtually doesn't stop. They just keep going and going and going. So I know you guys have seen my previous rodent setups, and throughout this course of time and just learning how they are, and I know they asked for hamsters. I don't do hamsters anymore, by the way, guys. They just take too long to grow out and everything, but my collection is growing now, so I can't really afford to wait. So with that, I switched over to mice. But yeah, they are prolific. It just takes a while for them to get started. Once they do, they start going. So be aware. You see my rodent collection went down, and of course the size of the little setup for them is also much smaller. That's because I realized quickly that 6 females can easily supply a much bigger collection than what I'm trying to do. So when you set this up, guys, keep that in mind. It doesn't take a lot. It takes very little to produce a lot. Each one of these girls can pop out at least 15 to 22 babies, like on a monthly and a half basis. And you want to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself, because then you'll have too many. And if you don't have a local store or anywhere to take them to, what are you going to do? So think about that one. The patience, I already addressed that. And pretty much that's it. You can let them grow out with each other. Once one female has babies, you always want to also watch for this culling of the herd. This kind of sucks, but if you get a female in the mix, usually it'll only be 1 or 2 selective, and it doesn't happen often, but when they do come around and you get that one female that for whatever reason becomes a freaking sociopath and decides to kill everybody or try to kill everything when another female has babies, she must be removed from the harem, guys. If you have a problem female like that, don't try to work with it. Don't try to wait it out, because it's just going to be a problem. Not only that, but now her personality is predispositioned to pass on to her next females, and then you might have more problem females. So to keep a cohesive unit in your little breeding colony, you want to make sure you cull the herd of any unnecessary females, even if they are necessary, but they're just aggressive with other females' babies. I suggest taking them out. It's always best to be able to keep pregnant females in a group of maybe 2 or 3. Of course, you want to give them adequate amount of size, because even good females, when they feel cramped, will cull their herds and kill their own babies because they feel it's too much. So give them the adequate amount of space, and then it's always good to have more than one together, because then while one female's feeding all the babies, another one can be off resting, and they will do this. If you watch them, and I've watched mine, from mothers down to granddaughters, and working together, even the females that have not ever had babies will sit there and put their bodies and learn from the moms how to properly sit on the nest of babies. And even though they're not milking them, they are giving them comfort and basically sitting over them while the real mother is taking a break from having to feed all of these little mouths. So you want to try and do your best to get that, guys. I always find it works best. Your females stay a lot more happy, healthy, and you get a lot less skinny, little wasted-looking females at the end, especially when they're too old to breed already. They actually don't shrivel up and get all used up looking. They actually stay rather healthy to the end of their lifespan. So at least that's been my experience, and I'm passing on what I know to you guys. So I hope that has been incredibly helpful. I know this video has been quite long already, and I said it was going to be quick, but I did my best to throw in all the information in there that I could for you guys, and basically show you what it is that I do to keep my collection fed. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me a direct message, leave a comment right down below. I always greatly appreciate your guys' feedback, and once again, I can't state it enough. Thank you so much to all my subscribers out there. You guys really don't know what effect and what impact it has on somebody like me who just does this to better our hobby. And yeah, I'm growing a business, but first and foremost, this is for the passion of the animals. I love these things. Even though I do breed these guys for feeders, I love all the animals that I keep under my care. I have a passion for them, And just honestly, if I didn't, I wouldn't go to the links that I do to try to make them a little more comfortable while, they're of course in this setup. But it is what it is, and first and foremost, I'm a breeder and a keeper first, and a businessman second, third, or whenever it comes to the welfare of the animals. So, guys, just I hope you can take away from this and know that all your subscriptions matter. Every single comment you guys leave, when you thumbs up those videos, you're just taking a few, not even a second, but milliseconds of your time to give a click to somebody who you don't even know and doesn't even matter. But at the end of the day, you have no idea how much it does to boost somebody's day. And I really, 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 really thank all of you out there for that. It's just wonderful when you get off of a heavy, heavy day of work. You have to come home and then you have to deal with cleaning up all these animals whom by no means asked to be with you. You're the one that chose to, but I'm not complaining. But it's just great to be able to unwind, log into my computer, and then I see comments of people who gave a damn to watch my video, and it's wonderful, it's awesome. We don't get paid for this, you don't get anything out of it. I'm not selling animals by the boatload, so you know what I'm saying, it's simply my hobby, and I appreciate you all taking your time to look into it. Not only that, but starting your own. Even if you're just a little breeder with just 2-3 snakes and you have a pair or 2 pairs, you know what I mean, those few that you produce and you happen to put out back into the hobby, you've just saved 13 other snakes from being captured in the wild. So remember, guys, don't think of just because you're one little breeder with only the ability to keep a couple snakes, you can't make an impact. You just saved 12 other snakes to staying in their natural habitats. So always think about that and think that you can make a difference in this hobby, and keep everything positive. You guys out there, when you disagree, I have people who don't like my videos and they put some nasty comments. I'm not going to stop doing them because of that, but I'm not going to reply with that either. So remember, guys, keep your dignity, and by all means, remember, it's about the animals first and our pride, our anything else second. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and I hope it's been helpful. I know I've blabbed on quite a bit. Stay tuned for more. Later, guys.